All right. Looks like we're live. How's everybody doing this morning? Yes. Let me hang on. I don't want anything to be doubled up as far as, what can I say, music, because I have a whole new system here, a whole new setup. Check it out. Welcome to the new CRT shop. I am, of course, Steve, your lovely retro host here, and in the CRT shop today I'm just going to tell you about how things have been going since our last live show. I think it's been probably 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks. But first off, how's everybody doing out there? Thanks for coming back in. I know this is a 9 a.m. start time today. Grab yourself a lovely cup of coffee if you need to, like me. Take a nice big sip off it. Retro host here, and in the CRT welcome in. Let me just turn down that background audio. There we go. The CRT Cabana. Yeah, first off, it feels amazing to be above ground again. Above the Earth's surface again. I literally feel like a hermit who crawled out of a cave because I have been in a bunker for the last 2.5 years. You've seen all the videos. You've seen all the live streams. I was underground that whole time, and I finally came out. I feel like it's safe again. I feel like the world's still here. There's still CRTs left on the surface that need to be saved. Isn't that so weird? It's like the vault. Is the stream repeating? Oh boy, is everything good? Okay, sorry. I'm looking at the chat. I just want to make sure things are good. Anyway, if there's any issues, definitely send me a message there. Again, this is all new setup. I'm out here. I'll explain a little bit more about that. But yeah, finally come out of the bunker. It's like vault dweller hits the surface, right? So anyway, I'm here with you all. And okay, there we go. Everything's good. All right, great. Thanks for the confirmation. Now behind me, I do have some cool stuff. You see that RGB monitor? Actually, it is a RGB modded Sony KV, because I want to talk a little bit about the last job I did in the bunker, which was a Sony KV 35V36. Gargantuan CRT. And I had to RGB mod it with the new, well, not too new, but pretty new, one I'd never done before, Sunthar's RGB Mux kit. So I've got a full video coming on that. It's pretty awesome, the results. And so that's the last one I've worked at. I've got some files that we can look at from that whole job. I also recapped and serviced the CRT before that. And man, the cool thing is this particular CRT is coming with me on the road to the Retro World Expo, and it's going to be coming to so anybody who's coming to the Retro World Expo in August of this year in Connecticut, the first day of the show, it'll be there. So that's I'm hauling that big son of a gun all the way up from here in Virginia to Connecticut. And it'll be the coolest thing since sliced bread. All right? Actually, I'm really appreciating everybody. I see we have a lot of people dropping in from around the world. Slovakia, how awesome, Roger. Thank you for coming. Will from Bristol, UK, awesome. Jake, thank you for coming back. Foxy Hooligans, welcome. Philip, good to see you. Vornak, Technici, good to see you. Crucial. Hey, Ronnie, welcome. Yes, thanks. Good to be back. Ringo, good morning. Dr. Claw, yes, it is Steve time. Good to see you again. Philip, I already said your name. Random Gaming, welcome in. Leo, Vertigo, welcome everybody. Yes. Again, if you're just dropping in and you haven't already, please do hit the like button so people know. Again, this is a little earlier than I normally start, but look, we've freed up things. This new shop is a hugely wonderful opportunity. Of course, I'm ironing things out. It's literally been the first week. I plan to show you more inside here. This first area, though, This is the main streaming area. This is the workstation area. It's a lot like the bunker workstation area. I mean, of course, I've got the lovely overhead camera that you guys love to see, right? Well, good news is I've fixed it. I got a new PC, a much better PC in this room than I had in the old setup. So I've not had any camera interruptions because this has a better motherboard. This has better USB distribution setup on it. So thankfully, it's been pretty plug and play friendly for me. But this is here. We've also got the Hacko tools over here. I'll give you some close-ups, right? The FR301. And then I've got my soldering irons over here. Yep, upside down view. I've got a fume sucker there for everybody who is always worried about the fumes. And I have lots of other things in here. Anyway, that view is, of course, back. So we'll be able to do the workstation stuff. And then I have the main view, and that's this. And then, of course, we can do tutorial stuff, talking over different topics right here, which is one of the things we're going to work on soon, is looking at these restorations from files I have on the Google Drive. But this is the little building. It's not huge, okay? But it's perfect size. I've got a nice HVAC unit out of your view right here. And it's got 2 windows, and then front doors here. And then actually over on this side is another workshop area that's pretty large, and it just needs to be finished. So it's going to be fun going through the journey of actually fully building out this whole thing and seeing how it all comes together, because that over there is going to be a much cooler studio. I want something cool. And this thing is like bare bones out there. I mean, it needs to be insulated. It's built up to a nice code and stuff, but it needs to be insulated, and it's got to, have drywall put up, and then I'm going to decorate it. So we got some other people showed up. SM Sam from Dubai. Awesome. Edward, welcome in. Good to see you. Private party. Hey, wife is not private payday. Sorry, your wife is not very happy with you for the, yeah. I'll talk to you about my experience moving CRTs. Vibra Polo, Italy. Welcome. Thank you. Awesome. SLR. Good to see you. All right. So yeah, this new studio, right? I'm going into it a little bit more. Of course, I have my lovely cue card here that tells me all these amazing. It's the quick reference card for the PVM, and on the other side, of course, is the lovely Donna high quality artwork. And behind me, the big board, right? The big board right here. Then we've got that CRT on the rack, but how was it getting all this set up? Man, woo! It was a adventure. And to be honest with you, this whole thing kind of happened way quicker than I had planned anything. So the last couple years, and this is going to be a little bit of a story time, okay? So everybody buckle up. I'm going to give you a little story about how I ended up where we are today in the third and best CRT shop. We kind of need to go back to the first CRT shop, was where everything started, where everything got going years ago, when I did my first videos. And that would have been, 6 years ago now when I started, something like that. So we go back to that shop, and that was it took a lot of moving parts to keep that thing going. It was literally out of my garage where everything was started. And then basically as the pandemic came in, many of you know this, I changed careers. I went full-time retro tech, but to do that, I moved up here to Virginia. And while doing that, I was in the old house that you saw, which was the house that my grandfather had built in the 1960s. I came here and I rented it because my grandparents passed away already, and so I went there, I rented that from my family, and I recently found this place you're seeing right now. It's a pretty crazy story. It's one of those things where I found the house that came available for sale. I basically been waiting for like 3 years to try to find something, and house hunting or doing anything to try to buy a house is a mess right now, pretty much anywhere. Probably outside of the state west of here, West Virginia. I think that's the only place in the country you can go get a super cheap house if you want to live in West Virginia. But here, things took a long time. You know, there wasn't a lot of stuff that was even affordable or even good or hit anything that I needed. This place checked every box. It had these amazing outbuildings. It's got this building, and then there's a second building, which I'll show you in the future too, which is actually going to be more of a storage area. It's full of things. It's got the Neo Geo cabinet, but there's also power there in that second building. So anyway, the house was on the market. I literally came to it, had like 15 minutes to look at it, and I had to make an offer, and I knew it was going to work out. So everything worked out. I finally closed on it about 9 days ago and moved in, started to get things moving from the other shop into here. So I had to get all the, infrastructure set up at the new place, removed from the old place, and start moving everything, which I think I moved 70 CRTs. Close to it over this move and trip. So I have too many. So yeah, there's a lot of CRTs I had to move. But everything went smoothly. It was only 5 miles from my last place. But this again has this new awesome shop. I really feel like this is going to be a great opportunity here for everything to continue to work out. And so the new shop is temporarily set up with a lot of things. The funny thing is I have right here, this is all, my internet is run from this Ethernet cable, which is 100-foot Ethernet cable, literally going out the door here and run to my router. And that's like 100 feet inside the house, inside the screen door. So temporarily I could get service out here for now, anytime I need to do a live stream. And so that's it. But I really like the way things are set up here inside when I show you more on like a tour video later on, how it's got a good workflow already. And I've already restored one CRT in this shop before I had everything set up like it is now. There's even a spot right here where Cole's sleeping right under my feet. So if you hear snoring, it's definitely him. And I feel like this is going to give me a good opportunity too, that I don't have to worry about things like a boiler. I don't have a boiler anymore. No more noise from that. Let's put something on here. How about good old Earthworm Jim this time? So yeah, welcome in everybody. Thank you all for showing up. I'm going to prepare some files over here to show you this restoration on the Sony KV that I did. And, I forgot the volume over here. We'll talk about RGB modifications on Sony consumer sets. So let me move over to this side. How's everybody? Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm really loving the vibes in here. And this is a little bit out in the woods. So nice. And as long as we can get looks like good internet, it says 0 dropped frames. Everybody seems to be good. Thank you, Darren. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's the whole idea. Bring your CRTs here. So this is the big push, right? This is all being brought to you by everybody on Patreon. So whether you just want to support this whole venture of studying CRTs and learning about them and doing things from your perspective of just maybe enjoy the shows, maybe you just really love CRTs and you want to make sure the format's available for people, or maybe you want to have your CRT featured in the shop. There's everything available over at Patreon, which is linked in the description of the video. Everybody who's on Patreon, thank you very much. It really does help move things forward and makes the lights stay on kind of in these kind of situations. So it's really awesome. Thank you, Tony. Welcome back. Welcome back, Tony. Hope you're doing well. And yeah, so that's the idea. Is now things will be coming live from this spot. This is awesome. And what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to pull these files up on this last restoration, as well as RGB modification. I was Yeah, let's just do it for it. So you got, I don't know, can you guys even hear me from back here? Hopefully I'll be able to like explain to you all. Um, maybe I could use this whiteboard uh and we could talk about things. I don't know, maybe the microphone picks it up from back there, but for example, you got RGB mods, and the way this RGB Mux mod works is you know, it goes straight in to the chip, and have to you don't even have to use a switch. Like this one is old school, and you have to use a manipulative switch, and you have to hit that switch every time you want that RGB to kick on. And so that's kind of what you have to do is see that's I don't know. I'll have to write bigger next time, clear out some more space. All right. So anyway, hope everybody's doing wonderful. Good to hear you, Bob. Good to see you, Bob, here. And yeah, so again, let's switch over here. Let me find this. And the good thing is it doesn't matter how crappy my neighbors are in this shed. Well, it does matter, but I can't get flooded out of here. Ooh, there's a nice coal snore. I can't get flooded out of this basement because it's not a basement. All right, people. I wonder how long it'll take me to erase that from the big board. Let's look at the Sony. Again, this thing is going to be, or you talk to the owner, he's getting it. I have to take it all the way up to, lovely Connecticut. Lovely Connecticut. You love Connecticut, don't you? All right. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I'm super excited. This is going to be awesome. Really. All right. Let's go. Let's do it. And this is the test stream, so hopefully things go great. But you know how it is. New system, new lovely day. Let's do a little bit of that. A little bit zoomy. Go in a little bit faster, bigger. All right, here we go. This was literally the week before I moved. All right, this is a 1998 television. Let's talk about it a little bit. It's a 35 to 36 inch tube, depending on how you measure it. It's gigantic, okay? And this one's really powerful. Anyway, we had a pre-tested diagnostics inspection. The TV worked perfectly, no problems. I disassembled it, removed all the circuit boards. This is just normal servicing stuff. Everything you're about to see here, we're going to walk through these in pictures. We have a couple of boards that were recapped, cleaned, repaired as needed, and replaced all the deflection capacitors, replaced all the neck board capacitors, there's actually 4 boards. I don't know why I put 2 boards, actually. That's incorrect. There's 4 boards. I found a typo in my own kit. And then we installed this RGB Mux kit and adjusted it for settings and all that good stuff. And here's the adjustments that were performed. And just a couple of notes, and everything on it went pretty good. And let's see. Let's go back to the file. All right. Looky there. Yeah, there's all my bins that I was packing up. Gosh, this bringing back flashbacks, painful flashbacks right there. No, see, the secret to moving these big bastards, these big old CRTs, is to not move them. I have yet to really pick this one up. I just have it on this moving cart, and I've not moved it off of that. Like I've slid it from the vehicle that it was on and put it onto this, sliding it, And then it's been on that since. And I left it on that when I put it in the moving truck. Because I left it on that cart. I have like 4 or 5 of these carts in my shop. So that's helpful. And those are the BVM and PVM transfer cases. Really, you could put anything in there. Goodness gracious. Please, everybody, if you haven't already, do me a favor, hit the like button. It will tell everybody the show's live again. And I want to get back on a regular schedule here. Thank you all for joining me, of course, today. Here's the back of this massive TV. Look at this thing. Very interesting design. You can tell the speakers, right? Look at it. It's interesting. It does like a sound tunnel. The speakers themselves are aimed out the side and back of the television. And then it does this sound tunnel plastic contraption that sends the sound waves. I'm no sound scientist or anything, but it sends that out the front vents on the sides of the TV right in this area. It's not direct speaker from that spot, which is a little interesting. And so that's something that you'll notice on the higher end stuff sometimes. Very large tube. I will note some very cool things Sony did on this one specifically. Here's our deflection yoke. They did have another degaussing ring around the deflection yoke. That's what you're seeing right there, that mini degausser installed, which does help. Anything you do like this for degaussing is going to help for purity and color balancing on these larger tubes. And then if you look even closer up here at the actual degaussing cable, I mean, it is massively large. One of the largest gauge I've seen probably ever. And it's strapped very precisely. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say too precisely, but in a good manner against that tube. Here's your danger zone, right? The scary spot everybody loves to be so scared of. Oh, me scared of this spot. I hate it. So anyway, just kidding. Not that scary on this one. There's actually a resistor built in. I think I probably got that on camera. If we go down here, this was built nicer, this CRT. It had a lot of things isolated, of course. And you'll notice some of the CRTs we've done that have been consumer sets will have everything on one board primarily, and then the neck board. So 2 boards pretty much. This had a power supply right here. Pretty simple to understand. You have your direct power fed in. Off these 2 lines, right, would have been the degaussing cables, which come in pretty close to the main power line. And that's how it happens right at the beginning. Then, you know, you've got filter capacitors and transformer and rectifier, blah, 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 all the good stuff to give you the voltages you need out the back end where that connector is to power the CRT. So the first things I took out and serviced would have been that right here. That's the power supply. This is your neck board. And this is an interesting board. I believe that this old TV had a velocity modulation unit too, right? And we all don't like that. But this is, I was also thinking this might have given some extra convergence controls. Some of the convergence controls could have been coming from this board, this WA board. And it did have 8 or 9 capacitors on it. Got some coils. This is the power supply. A closer look at the power supply. Now, David, have I done analysis on a 310? No. I had one guy that wanted to like sell me a 310 for like $1,000 locally or something. So that's about as I got. Still waiting. Thank you, Too Many Screens. All right. Here's the bottom side of that power supply. This looks like it's after I probably serviced it. Yes. There's all the old capacitors. There you go. So a key feature or a key thing to consider is on a power supply, you will encounter solder breakdown, okay? And every spot that looks like a mirror is a spot that I reflowed solder on. And yeah, I know, right? It's a lot of money for one. And then I just went through and cleaned it. You guys have seen me do this 100 times on the channel, on other live streams, and you will continue to see me work through these. And so that's reinstalled, and then I went on to the neck board. This is what it looks like before. Then you get the two capacitors out, check components, and do the same procedure where we get every spot there with fresh solder, because at this point, especially right here, you see this eyeball, the eye of the hurricane, the eye of the CRT, right? That is the neck socket, and every one of these is a vital point, pretty much. Not every one, but most of them are. And this solder heats up and breaks down. What's up, Dave? That's right. There you go. You don't want to see my real solder gun. Anyway, there we go. We're continuing on, normal shit. So let's move on to that other board. It's getting the same treatment. That you get that dull solder finish that you're going to have. And this is after I've removed those parts in it. You can tell I sucked those capacitors out. Gone. In go the new ones. And we'll also reflow solder on this whole board here. Everything. Except for the blank spots. I don't obviously refill anything when there's no component. There's a lot of these, you can tell I have nothing in, like there, unpopulated. No, not redoing it. But even up here, where this connects to the coil up here, that can be trouble where over time, that all can break down right in there. That whole row of solder. My store is in Virginia. Come to the wonderful campus of James Madison University and visit and get your drop your CRT off for a day. Go hiking to the wonderful mountains, or drop it off on your quest east or north. There they all are reinstalled. This is the main board. This is the one with the flyback and the tuning and the audio circuitry. And a lot of that is stuff you don't have to worry about. But it is all love. I mean, it is, the way they map this out is really nice. Okay. You can directly tell, for example, this quadrant section is blocked off with these white lines. That's all audio stuff right in there. That's all audio for this CRT. And everything next to that is pin amp deflection right in here. So you can see all these got removed, but it would be a waste of time for these audio amp stuff. There's no problem with the audio amp, and there's no problem with these capacitors. There you go. Those are all the capacitors for the deflection. New ones are installed. You can see again, we've got horizontal deflection right there. Tells you nice and plainly. Yeah. You've got volume control, right? Other stuff you don't need to worry about. Whoop. Get out of there. Oh boy. Sorry about that. Back to this picture. Over here you see vertical deflection. Okay. Pin amp. All that's labeled. Vertical deflection. pin out, pin mod, all that stuff. And you can see I've gone through and marked them because I went through and checked all my work. Solder reflow on all this stuff. Another point is this. Look at this. This is the flyback transformer, and this looks, the bottom of this needs to be reflowed a lot of times. Sometimes it's super thick. You don't have to worry about it, but sometimes other times it does need to be reflowed. So just check that. Now let's get into this modification. This is the modification part. Okay. So this is actually installing that. The first thing on this particular set I needed to do, first off, let's go over here and find Sunthar. Maybe we could find Sector Sunthar's mod. This is the chassis I had, okay? So this is the chassis I have, AA2D. AA2D. This is how it works. You can go to this website, just type it in, and Sunthar has this information here. And then this explains what you need to do for the modification, okay? So the first thing you have to, or you want to get the board prepped, and you have to remove these 3 surface mount resistors, okay? And those are pretty simple to remove. Remove these resistors. This one's your blue, this one's your green, this one's your red. And then it tells you this pad on the right-hand side of those is, I'm guessing, where we populate the actual, whoops, sorry about that. It's where we populate our red, green, and blue conductors. And then down here is where we populate our blanking conductor. And you have to add this diode, which you saw in my notes here. This is that diode, okay? So there you have to enter a diode right there on R067. On this end, you enter a diode in there. There's your conductors installed from a Reddit post. And then there's the MUX kit. There's the MUX kit that you buy. When you buy it, you tell them what MUX you need. It became pre-built like that. Okay, so that's what you need. But the issue is here, we're not seeing exactly what we need to do for a couple of other things. We need to add main board ground. We need to add sync. Okay, we need to add left-right audio. And that's not really mapped out on here. But you do get that. You do get that info. So let's see what I've done, because I actually went through and did the mod. There's the spots where I removed the resistors. It's R1123, 1125, and I can't tell what number that is. 33 or something. Then I added a fresh solder right on those 3 spots, and then right here, this L003 on the bottom side, or next to the C116, this is where you need to add that blanking conductor. Yep, you enjoying this, Cole? Bet you and everybody else is falling asleep. So I did it like this, and I did it wrong. Okay, I screwed up. Everything was backwards because this part was wrong, and it took me a while to figure it out. But I'll show you where I fixed it. I had the receptacle for the conductors in the wrong spot right there. So this is what it looks like afterwards. What else did I put in here? This is a ground. This is one of the ground lines, okay? So there's my red, green, and blue conductors. This is my blanking. This is a ground point. Yep, definitely ground. There you go, closer look. And is that all I showed? Is that all I have pictures of? Surely I have pictures of more. So this is what I tried originally. Let's see, is that how I wound up keeping it? No, I think this is how I wound up keeping it. So there is, that looks like left and right audio. and then an audio ground, maybe, or sync. Huh. I'll have to make sure this is clearer. But I believe that's it. And that's it. So that's what I did. See how I have it? You have to install on the back side. So you put all that together, and you've got this quick disconnect. So you run the cables up under there. Let's try to figure this out. This would have been what I did finally, right? Okay. That's it. All right. So if we look at this closer, we're right here on this particular spot is where you can tee in to get the sync. Where this arrow points into this connector, right? It says main Y. Main Y. That's where you're going to tap into a sync point. This is a ground. So you have a secondary ground that we're using. That's what's going on here. So if you can see, this is a continuation of that mod, right? Yellow is sync. This is a ground. This brown is our blanking. Red, green, blue. Orange is ground. 2 grounds. And then if we go down here, we have a left audio, a right audio on this number 3 connection, CN271. It's bottom. We're going to go down, and we're going to connect the white cable to left, the gray cable to right on that connection. And then finally up there, that's a 3rd ground connection. That's what that is. 3 grounds to make this a stable modification, okay? And then I did the unthinkable. I covered it in splooge. I covered it in everyone's most hated material, hot glue. Actually, I just secured the wires there with some hot glue, which is perfectly fine. Everything's run. That's how it goes. That's an entire breakdown for you of all those cables. And that feeds out here. I just taped them together so they would be protected. Feeds out here to this plug. And then you just plug that into your little board. You slap that sexy SCART cable in there. Sexy SCART cable, baby. Jam it right in there. That's all you need to do. And then you have RGB. Okay, that's all you have to do. The good thing about this Mux mod, I don't know if I have any more photos. Yes, okay. We're going to look at some pictures of the results here. Check it out. This Mux mod, like the one you see behind me, has a manual switch on the back where I have to hit that switch to enter it in the mode it's in right now. And if I hit the switch, if I hit the switch, boing, if I hit that switch, it turns it into RGB mode like it's in now. Let me hit that switch and see what it does if I turn it off RGB. Okay, we're going to wait for a signal. So that turns it back to like non-RGB mode. So you could use the input on this one that it's daisy chained off of. So you can use the composite input, and then you can just hit the switch and be an input for your, you need to use that switch. So it redirects that input to your SCART input, basically. This doesn't need that switch. All you do is you plug in the SCART, and it senses it, and it automatically sends the RGB in. You disconnect the SCART, and you can use any of the normal inputs, which this one has S-Video. This TV has S-Video, and it has composite and RF. And so you can use any of those. But when you activate that Mux by just sticking that SCART in, like we saw, it's going to automatically stick it into RGB mode. Okay. So doing that right there will stick it right into RGB mode. And it looks awesome. This TV for like what you get here, and I'm sorry, actually I forgot. I need to go back to scene 4 so you can actually see what I'm looking at. So there you do. You stick that SCART in there, automatically sends the signal in. Okay? And this had an fantastic like picture quality. I know like you're thinking, "Oh, look, the corners misconverged." This is a 36-inch tube. That's actually quite tight compared to look how, I mean, it's super tight up at the top and sharp. Look at the sharpness and the definition on the scan lines. Now you're really starting to see it on this tube. There's some more. This is post adjustment. I mean, again, you're not going to get it perfect. It is too big, but that's really good compared to a lot of larger tubes. Now in the center, this thing is sharp as a tack. Look at that. You could see those are very converged. And if I had a macro lens, I should have taken better shots, but that was not the case. Here you go. Here's some everybody's favorite Super Metroid. You can get a good look at the scan lines there. Gosh, that's gigantic, right? These are unedited, straight up snaps from the camera. Hey, Joshua, welcome. Thank you. From Japan, that's awesome. The land of Sony. And here's this. I love this screen. It just shows so much. You get a really great blue contrasted with some green. Nice dark blacks in there. Splotches of red throughout. And of course, leading up to that, you get mode 7. It's a great test screen to see what's going on just on your actual CRT. And you get a look at the just defined scan lines there. This looks incredible. It's going to give you that. I mean, you're going to have a fantastic time seeing this. Anybody who makes it to, I know Bob will be there, but anybody who makes it to Retro World and gets to see this live will be very impressed and happy to see it, I believe. You'll get to play a game on it. I'll have it. You can test it. Look at that. Or you can just sit back and watch the eye candy. There's a look at how massive it is. One curve Trinitron. There's the backside. Now I want to show you where I inserted the SCART. I thought this was pretty good. So there's not any space on the input board. All this has boards behind it and screws and such. But there were these cavities under the tube next to the RF that fit perfectly for this. And of course, I didn't have the greatest cut. I used a Dremel and I did go a little over on there, but it's not that at this point, right? Anyway, that was tricky to get all that put together in there, but that's a perfect spot for it. And that's the last shot I have right there of the actual CRT. So that was the final job. And I think that's probably good enough for today's show to like end on those slides for that. And we'll go back and see if anybody has anything in the chat to talk about or want to know about it. What's up, Mike? Yep. I talked about that in depth today at the beginning of the stream if you want to check that out. So you don't have to rehash that for everybody. But yep, this one is going to be more of a permanent one. The last place, again, I was renting. The place I started the channel from was a house that I had bought a long time ago now, right? And so then I moved here. I had to rent for a while. I was finally able to get a place. Hey, Abe, welcome back. Awesome. Yeah. Have a great time. Speaking of time, welcome in, Time. Are there any US CRTs that support 50 hertz? You know, the problem I have is I don't know. Here's the thing. They're not normally going to. They're going to show black and white. They'll probably sync up, but they'll probably show just a black and white image. I don't think they'll be able to color show. But they should possibly show the bandwidth that it would still show the image, just not the color, possibly. Okay. Now my issue is I can't get the PAL hardware. I had a PAL DVD, but I didn't have a PAL DVD player. I don't have PAL stuff. And then when I do have PAL stuff, I usually, now if you get a PVM, a lot of those PVMs are going to be able to sync up to any region's format analog video, as far as composite or S video, if you happen to have that too. So you should be able to do PAL, even CCAM, and NTSC and the other levels of NTSC. All of that will be very well handled by a PVM, and some CRTs will handle it. It's just I don't know about that color. You know, Smasher Josh, you probably could get RGB because you would directly be, it doesn't matter about that. On the composite end, that's the PAL and NTSC stuff. That is purely color, well, color and signal, right? Because it's at a different frequency. But when you break it down, again, you've separated all the colors, so they're being injected. That is not. Yeah, this is the shop. So again, this is the shop. This is where all the stuff happens. You can check out more information. I only do restorations and repair work through Patreon. So you got to check out those links in the description for this video, and you can get more information about how to get repairs done. That's how I do it. You set up on there. And look, if you send in, some CRTs take longer to get done. Bigger ones take longer. This last one's been here for a long time. It will have been in my shop for a year by the time it's done, just because of the logistics of moving it. I picked it up at Retro World, and now I'll be bringing it back to Retro World. It was kind of like that was the deal. But moving, normally I can get a Sony done within a week, no problem. 2 to 3 days even. No problem. I do need some time, though, to be left with it to get through the whole restoration. You could do some repairs in a couple hours. You drop off, go away, come back, pick up. But again, this is all in Harrisonburg, Virginia, if you're really interested. And there is a ton of information on Patreon. That's where, again, I do my repairs for people. And I know it's like, oh, he does his repairs through Patreon. It is a safety net. It's a pay fence. It's a little fence. And you'd be surprised. I mean, it helps me really, and it helps you too. You know, I'm serious about everything I do over there. Anybody who's had work done from me in the past 3 years can tell you, you can see from what we've walked through here. This is the level of documentation I'm giving every client for something that I do for them. And that's how you get it. You get a drive folder like you've seen here. This is an actual client's drive folder that they receive once the job is finished. You get all these lovely pictures. I have a little video clip. Let's see what the video clip looks like. So I would have a little video clip on here, and that, like you'll get the client got a drive length for this when it was finished on 4/20/2024. Pictures, videos, even comes with an invoice if you're lucky, like to get to pay it. And again, we've already reviewed the service notes. You get the service notes explaining everything that was done and things like that. Let's see what this video clip is. I think this video clip is when I finally got the RGB to work. We'll see a little clip of it. Of course, it's vertical mode. Yes, the other thing is you got to think about too on these repair positions and jobs is logistics, honestly. And I do have If you like, if you realize, hey, this is like, this is like an investment into your device, right? If you really want this kind of thing done, it's like you really love a screen, you really want it to last, look like amazing, be as close to factory new as you can get it ready for a long time to be used. You bring it in, you get it done by the best person who does this normally. I do this is my full-time job now, and it has been for years at this point. But you come in, you get all this done, and then we can help with logistics on getting a small driver to ship this out to you wherever you are in the country. And I'm going to even try some people in Canada this year to see how that works. But there's some video clips of that. How cool is that? Look at that. It looks super clean. Look at this just purity on that image. Anyway. But I'm not going to, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It costs money. The biggest issue is the costs of really the logistics. You're paying more to probably ship it back and forth most of the time. And if you're on the Eastern Coast and you're willing to drive 4 or 5 hours, a lot of people do that, or even further, and get them done. If you bring in multiple CRTs, you can do that, drop them all off and say, hey, I'll be back in 2 weeks and I can get them all done. I have plenty of clients that I got one client right now that has 4 Toshibas that we're about to start working on. They've dropped them all off. Yeah, if you send them, you can either directly set up an account through UShip, which I've gone through in the past. Let's find that. I've gone through how to do this before. But you simply go to UShip and where is the UShip account? Let's see. If I can find where that one is. Oh, let's look up that video and I'll send a link in the description for UShip. But I made a video. It's almost actually been a year ago about right now. This is the wrong. That I was able to send. I'll find that video. I made a video about, yeah, here it is. Golly. You've been around a long time when you start looking at videos and it's like 1 year ago you made this, 2 years ago you made this, 3 years ago you made this. You're like, golly. So you can check, I just dropped a link there. You can check that out. It does talk about how to set things up through UShip if you want to do that on your own. Of course, I have an account with UShip, so I can take care of all that side. I also do have a couple of shippers that I've met that are, you can call them and ask them. We can call them and ask them how much it would be for a specific job. So there's always those options. And sometimes that can take some time. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Philip's asking about, let's ask, you guys don't ask some questions, sure about. Yeah, again, Joshua, if I'm in the East Coast, I'm in Virginia, and I'm right up the I-81 corridor. The I-81 corridor it's Interstate 81, it goes north and south from the top of the United States down to the bottom. I don't know how far it goes down, but it goes from like Pennsylvania and north of that. And so you come down that road, and that is right where I'm at. So it's again, Harrisonburg, Virginia. You can look up James Madison University. That's literally the city I live in. Jake, thank you. Jake is way black. His $10 super chat. He says, hey, I have listed a KV13 FM12 that I RGB modded on Marketplace for $350 or best offer. No one has bought it yet, but I've got a few people with CRTs that I'm modding now. Thanks for inspiration, Steve. Well, you're welcome. Yeah. So that's if you guys want to get that from Jake, I would check that out. Connect with Jake if you can. It's a good thing. Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, I do I don't know if you happen to be in Tennessee and in the middle Tennessee area, but that's the other show I do every year is I do a show in early November at the Music City Multicon. But you can look that up. I'll do some plugs about it later on in the year. But I do a presentation at these are the only two I do right now, but I'm doing that one again this year. And yeah, so that's really the best thing is if you happen to be back sometime during the holidays, maybe I'll be there and can help if you need something. All right. Well, everybody, this has been an awesome Hendersonville. Are you serious, Jonathan? That's where I went to high school. I mean, I'm from where I'm at now, but then I moved to actually Gallatin, and then moved to Hendersonville, and I graduated high school there. I moved from Hendersonville when I was in sixth grade from Virginia, where I'm at right now. And I lived there till I went to college. And then I got out of college and moved around places. Roanoke's real close too, man. It's like 2 hours. It's not even 2 hours, Roanoke. Fenloke. Anyway, yeah, Hendersonville. That's crazy. I graduated in 2001 from Hendersonville High School. Richmond, that's another 2 hours. That's awesome. You guys are real close. Then you guys are real far away too. Some of you guys from Japan and everybody else. So awesome. Well, yeah, I have plans to do a second stream this week. So guys, put your subscriptions on and let the notices be turned on. If you missed anything from today, you can go back and check out a little bit of story on how we got here and how things are progressing to this point. And we can talk about that, or you could see that talk, and you could see all the description on the RGB modification for the MUX kit on a 2AA2D Sony chassis for the KV35V36. Hope I got all that right. Anyway, super awesome. Thank you. Shout out to everybody who's been in the chat and had a great conversation today. I hope I see you on the next one. And this is off to a great morning and a great day. I'll see you next time, everybody.